So bring that compassion for yourself. Know that you can do this. Take a deep breath and share where your limit is this year.
Are you sitting in a space where you are struggling with anxiety? Do you feel like a prisoner to the cycles of depression? Do you feel stuck in your life and feel frustrated and lost, but yet you know there is so much more on the other side of this mental breakdown? I want to hold your hand through this therapeutic life healing journey. I will help you navigate emotional healing, spiritual growth, and taking action so you can align your mind, body, and spirit to completely transforming your life. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, of stepping into your power and experiencing your breakdown as your breakthrough. Hey, I'm Adit. I'm a therapist, a mindset coach, and I want to partner with you so we can heal your life together. Hello, welcome back to Therapeutic Life Healing with me, Adit, your host. I'm so happy you're here wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome. If this is your first time here tuning into the show, thank you for being here. Send me an email. Let me know how you found this podcast. If you are a returning listener, I so appreciate you continuing to show up and listen to these episodes. And I really, truly trust that they are healing and they can be such a support to you on your healing journey. And thank you for continuing to be here. So I'm really excited. Today's episode is going to be about how to set healthy boundaries with your family during the holiday season. This might also apply to friends and coworkers. You can kind of generalize it. I'm going to be speaking specifically to setting boundaries with family, but you will kind of get the idea from these 5 tips on how to set those boundaries and then just generalize it out to other people and other situations in your life. And I have to thank you for choosing this episode topic because I asked on my Instagram, I took a poll and wanted to see what you wanted as the next episode. And you all, majority of you chose to listen about this. So this topic is going to be, I believe, something that you're all thinking and considering, and it will be helpful to you on your healing journey. Before we dive in today's episode, I just want to say hello to friends tuning in from all parts of the world. I see you out in, of course, my biggest supporters out here listening are in the United States, my home state of California. I see y'all representing, listening out in Utah, Ohio, Florida, Illinois, Texas, Wyoming, Hawaii, Idaho, New Mexico, Nebraska, just to name a few. I see you out in Australia and Canada, and really interesting to see new folks tuning in from different parts of the world. United Arab Emirates, I see you returning from also other parts of the world, the Philippines and Singapore, Bulgaria and India, United Kingdom. Thank you for tuning in from France and Pakistan, Sweden, Kenya, New Zealand, Denmark, and Vietnam, just to name a few. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited about this topic because boundaries during the holidays are so important. You know, I think boundaries is a super personal experience. It has to be something that you get clear on because what my boundaries are versus somebody else are very different. But just to take a moment to acknowledge that the holidays can bring up a lot for people. It can be a big mix of emotions. You know, if we think about the holidays, whether we like it or not, or if we celebrate it or not, it's kind of pretty much just around us and it's in our face and it's in our lives, whether expected or not expected. It just is. And so many of you will likely have a mixed bag of emotions and know that that's okay. It might be an experience of sadness or anger or gratitude, and all of that is okay. Happiness, excitement. You know, for me personally, like the holidays, ironically, is like one of the hardest times of the year because I've had a lot of loss. Grief shows up a lot during the holidays for me and my family. And it's also one of my favorite times of the year. I just love so many things about this time of year. I love, seeing the trees change color. I actually like the cold a lot more than I do the summer. I love the festivities. I love the lights. There's a
There's something about it that makes me just feel warm and cozy inside. And I also am grieving and sad, looking at how our holidays over the years has changed so much, because the people in my life, in my circle that I would typically have rituals and traditions to celebrate together, they are no longer in this physical form. And so I miss them so much. And it's also very hard for me. So those things can coexist. But that's me. I want you to really focus on yourself. Maybe that resonated for you. Maybe you're also experiencing all of these different emotions, because the holidays, again, bring up a lot for us. A lot of things come to surface, from family stuff or expectations of how you're supposed to be, and the fact that maybe you have more social events to go to and you're not maybe someone who wants to go, or your energy level is just lower maybe this year, or you're an introvert, and so there's like a lot of social anxiety or worries about being out at all of these different events. Or you might be worried about a conversation that's going to come up at the family table. Maybe there's differences in views of like religion or politics, or questions like, when are you getting married, or are you having a baby, or all of these personal questions that family tend to ask, or friends tend to ask when you're at these holiday gatherings, and this expectation that you're just supposed to put on a happy face, and just your energy is supposed to be high, and maybe that's just not where you're at, and that's okay. So setting boundaries is going to be important. I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can use to really work on that for yourself this year, this holiday season. Number 1 is really getting clear on your limits. Know your limits. What is okay with you and what is not okay with you. Basically, that's boundaries. Like, we all have different limits. Like, what's okay for me might not be okay for somebody else. So number 1, know your limits. Know your financial limits, because the holidays are also a time where you might be spending more, and maybe you just don't and you can't. There might be an expectation, again, to like show up to all of these different events, and maybe your energy level, because for whatever reason, you don't have it in you to go to everything. You might have to just understand that this season you have different limits than past seasons of the holidays. And so it's okay to kind of reset from what you've done before last year and previous holidays, and just tune into your limits this holiday season, this time of year, with what you're going through now. And, people might not understand, but that's okay. Boundaries are meant to really keep the relationships healthy, because when we push ourselves, we can build resentment, and over time, it'll somehow circle back and affect the relationship anyways. So you might as well be very clear with knowing your limits, so then you can communicate them to your loved ones in a way that feels comfortable enough for you, so that they can understand where you're coming from. And it doesn't mean they'll agree, and it doesn't mean that won't disappoint them, but you have to let go of trying to please them, and know that you have to do the right thing for yourself, because you're operating off of what your limits are. So set financial limits. Put a budget on how much you're going to be spending. Put a budget and limit on how much you're going to be putting your energy out there, how many events you can actually attend, with knowing how much you have in terms of energy left in you. So know your limits, because it can affect your mental health by pushing yourself and not knowing your limits. And again, part of knowing your limits is identify your needs. What do you need from this time of year? What do you expect in terms of what you need from other people and what you need from yourself? And getting really clear on that. Be prepared for pushback, even after you clearly communicate your boundaries. That's okay, that it happens. Just make sure you are very clear with what you need. And if you don't know, just choose your mental health. Someone said that and it really stuck with me. On the days you don't know what to do, choose your mental health and excuse yourself if you need to. Like, if a conversation is going in a direction that it's just not going to serve your well-being at this time, just excuse yourself. If the person is committed to misunderstanding you, or just not kind of landing for them, that you're not in a place where you want to continue to engage in whatever the conversation might be, excuse yourself and just end it. You can end it by just saying, okay, I just don't have it in me anymore to talk about this. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to excuse myself and go to the kitchen for a moment. I'll be back. You can literally end a conversation. That's more respectful for yourself and honoring yourself and the relationship, as you care about it, I'm assuming. And so just to say like, you know what, I'm going to drop it. It's not about who's right, who's wrong right now. I just need to leave and exit this conversation. That's you knowing your limit and setting a boundary and walking away. That's an example. Number 2, once you know your limits, once you really identify how much, in terms of money, how much you're spending in energy, once you know where those limits are for yourself, at least a rough idea, then be prepared to speak up. That's number 2. You have to be able to clearly communicate your needs and your limits with the people who you're going to be around during the holiday season. When you speak up and share your thoughts, you are honoring yourself and to release yourself from the need to make and please the other people. It's not up to them to know your limits. It's up to you to know your limits. It's another way to avoid feeling resentful towards other people or yourself or the situation. Because let's say, financially speaking, you go and you spend all this money on gifts for people or going out on events, social events, dinners, whatnot, and you spent more than you expected. Well, you're going to be upset about that. You're going to be resentful towards the people maybe who invited you or the people who are receiving the gift. Remember, no one asked you to do that. In terms of like this expectation that might be there, but you have the option and the choice to also shut it down and say, I can't attend this, or I am only going to be able to spend X amount, or I'm not going to be able to buy anyone a gift this year. Take that pressure off yourself. Oftentimes I find it more that we put the pressure on ourselves than other people putting that pressure on us or that expectation. Most of the time, the people who are loving, they will be understanding of what our limits are. And if they're not, well, that tells you something also about the relationship. And release yourself from trying to fix their emotions, from them not being mad or upset with you. Almost saying like, that's fine if you want to be upset with me because I'm expressing, where I'm at financially or where I'm at emotionally and how much energy I have. Well, I'm not here to make you feel better. Like I have to go take care of my own mental health right now. So next time you're setting a boundary, just remember, take a few deep breaths. Literally your breath can just anchor you. It could release a lot of that fight or flight inside of you and ground you. So just take some deep breaths, just really inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, a nice sigh, unclench the jaw, relax your body, and maybe even say an affirmation, something like, I can do this, or I need to do this for myself, and I need to do this for my own peace of mind. Think of something positive about that person, really inviting compassion for yourself and for them and for the situation. Because if it's someone that you love, we care about what they think. We care about them. Don't let that go when you're setting a boundary. Let that vulnerability shine in this moment. And that just can even deepen the relationship. So bring that compassion for yourself. Know that you can do this. Take a deep breath and share where your limit is this year. Number 3, speak up in a calm, simple, and just direct way. Sharing what you want and don't want. It can be done respectfully. Setting your boundaries doesn't have to be this harsh line and mean or cutting people off. That's not setting a boundary. That's not the right way to do it. Setting your boundaries, it's actually supposed to lessen the drama and lessen any relationship damage. It's important to remember using I statements. So for example, I feel, say your emotion, I feel sad when whatever the behavior you don't like, because the way that it affected you has an impact. And so you want to just name those things. So I feel, state your emotion when whatever the behavior is you don't like, because or but the effect that behavior has on you. So some examples of that, especially during the holidays, is I feel tired when I organize holiday parties because I do most of the work. Would you be able to help me organize this year's holiday party? Another one is I felt embarrassed when I saw your reaction to my gift because I tried to give you the best present that I could with the budget that I have. I wish I could buy you a nicer gift, but I can't. Thanks for understanding. Another one would be I feel annoyed when I hear jokes like that in front of my children because they get curious and it's not age appropriate. How do you think we can stop this from happening? Food and alcohol can be another thing that comes up during the holidays, and maybe you're in a season where you're either limiting your alcohol intake or not drinking at all, or you're on your sobriety journey. Maybe you're intuitively eating and this expectation to eat all of the things. There's just a lot of things that can come up for people around food and alcohol. So also you could say something like, I feel tempted when I get offered an alcohol drink because I've been sober for about 4 months and I'm in an alcohol recovery program. Any juice would be good for me. Thank you, though. You can give, again, as much or as little as you feel comfortable. These are just examples. Tweak them to be your own and the way that feels right for you. Sometimes these simple, clear, direct statements will help you feel more at ease. It brings in the vulnerability, it brings in the compassion, it brings understanding, and it just helps to reduce the holiday drama or stress and reduce feelings of resentment. Number 4, this is a gift that someone gave me, but you can literally just say no. Like literally, you can just say no. Again, maybe easier said than done, but like just to take that pressure off, like, oh yeah, like I can say no. I can say, that's not going to work for me right now. And literally leave it at that. Sometimes you want to set a boundary, but you might be too distressed. Maybe you're overwhelmed with sorrow and grief. It's just the stress and the overwhelm. Like it's too much. It's too much, right? Happening in your brain and your body. It's a lot. So you can try to use the tips mentioned above, but also know that if all of that feels overwhelming, because I don't know what's happening in your life right now, right? I don't know. But what I do know is that you have the permission to give yourself the release from anything and just say no. It's a complete sentence. I know, like mind-blowing, right? Like I feel like it was such a gift when I heard that and I apply that to my own life. I don't sometimes, depending on what is going on in my life, how much energy I have, I can be someone who can give a lot and give a lot of explanation, and it comes from a good place. It comes from compassion and, all of these things. I love the person and I want them to understand, not be mad at me. But I've also learned and trained myself to be like, you could limit that. I don't have to give so much of my energy to, and this, it's okay. Like no love is lost when it's a true relationship that is grounded in love. So you don't always have to explain yourself. Sometimes just saying no, like I can't right now. I don't have that much energy. Like it's just no is enough. It's enough. Like keep it short, simple, and sweet. If you're in that fight or flight, if it's a hard season where you've not experienced something like this before, I've been there. I get it. You don't have a lot of emotional bandwidth left in you. You don't have a lot of energy. You don't have enough, finances are tight, whatever it is. Any of that is okay, and your mental health, choose that. Say yes to yourself, and people will be more than likely forgiving and understanding. So just say no. Just say no. That's number 4. And number 5, tap yourself on the back. Like really celebrate yourself that you spoke up and that you shared your thoughts, and not to forget that part of setting boundaries is to recognize when you do it too. When you're vulnerable, honest, and most raw self, like people actually are attracted to that. They're inspired by that. So just accept that you are in a place where you are growing and you're healing, and it's okay that you're not going to do 100% right. Like that's also kind of impossible. Like you're going to be making mistakes, and that's okay. But just honoring yourself and honoring that you set a boundary, that's so important. People get really just tied to this perfectionist mindset that you have to do it right or else not at all. Like let that all go. Go through this formula. Try the first 3. If that's too overwhelming or too much, go to number 4, just say no. And regardless, just celebrate your small wins this time of year. Be proud of yourself. You're going through a lot, and no matter what's going on in your life, just taking a moment to pause and honor your mental health, your well-being, putting yourself first. If you're listening to this podcast, you are someone who's honoring yourself already. You're someone who's taking time out of their life to listen to healing information, to take care of yourself. That's enough. That's a lot already. So celebrate yourself in just that alone. If you've made it this far to the episode, I am so proud of you. Just know that, hold on to that for yourself. And I wish you and your loved ones a warm, cozy holiday season. And it's okay to have any and all of the feelings during this time of year. Just sit with what you need to, know your limits, and take good care of yourselves and also take good care of each other. We'll see you next week. And next week's episode is also one you voted on. It's going to be about journal prompts to reflect on the year. So bring your pen and paper. We're going to journal. And I'm really excited about that episode. Thank you for voting. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast, leave a review. If this episode touched you, please share it with a friend. Maybe let them know what stood out to you, and you can talk to each other. Use this episode as a conversation starter about boundaries and what they need and what you need. And it just can kind of start the conversation. Send it to family, but share this with someone that you love. Leave me a review. I love reading them personally. It just fulfills my soul when I read one. It really just makes my day. So thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your life to tune in.
Thank you so much, and I'll be back real soon with a new episode.